Hi, today I want to talk to you guys about crowd work and forming rapport with your audience. So both of these concepts are very important when you do comedy, and with a little bit of practice, you'll be doing well. So basically, I think I've said this before in my first video. The audience wants you to do well, okay? Every time you go to a comedy show, you might be nervous. Like I still get nervous as well, but you don't have to be nervous because the audience wants you to do well. Like I think when I first started, I was very nervous and I would always think like, oh God, the audience is not gonna like me. And I felt very kind of like defensive against the audience, like this bloody audience, I have to prove myself to them. I have to prove myself to this audience, but they're not judging you. They're not just sitting there being like, oh man, like let's see who the next person is. She's gonna be, they better be really funny or I'm gonna walk out. Like they're eager, like they're there for a reason because I like comedy. They're probably really excited about it and they're probably really excited to see lots of new acts. So don't go in there thinking, oh God, this is going to be really bad. I'm going to get really nervous and the audience is going to hate me. You got to go in there knowing that they're not going to be at a comedy show unless they want to be there, right? First things first. So remember that the audience wants you to do well. Now, the second thing I like to think about is basically what your comedy personality is like. So I'm pretty lucky because I've got a very extroverted personality, and on stage, I'm pretty much the same as I am in person. Like I'm very extroverted, I'm chatty, like I smile a lot, and I'm pretty energetic on stage. And my jokes are very kind of, my jokes are just kind of like funny, silly stories about my life. Now, there are other comedians who are not like me on stage and they're very introverted and they're very quiet and their jokes are not funny, silly stories. They might be like one-liners or they might be like, I don't know, observational humor. And it's a little bit harder for them to form a rapport with the audience just because of the way that they come on stage. Like if you come on, you're really happy, you're smiling, you're like, full of energy, then the audience will be like, oh, this guy's, energetic. And it's kind of like you're kind of already halfway there and winning them and getting them over to your side. Now, if you come on and you're very quiet and subdued and you're kind of like got closed body language, it's not like the audience won't like you, but it's just a little bit harder for them to get that initial rapport. And there's lots of comedians that are very like introverted and they're very good comedians. It's just harder for them to win the audience over when they first start. So, so as I said, my comedy style is very like energetic and friendly and like smiley. So when I come on stage, like I really kind of can feel that the audience is a little bit more relaxed. Like, okay, this girl seems like she, is very energetic and might have some funny jokes. So when I go on stage, then that's good. Like I feel like the audience is already kind of like halfway onto my side. Um, Now, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. The first one is eye contact. Now, before, and like even until quite recently, I never used to look at anybody in the eye. I would just kind of like look over their heads, and I would do this thing that I call the sprinkler gaze, which is where I would like kind of like just look over people's heads, and I would just do a slow kind of like scan around the room, not super like that, but basically just look around at people in like a scanning sort of fashion. I would always look over their heads. I never wanted to look at them because I was always too scared to look at people in the eye. So I used to do that, but now I'm more confident in my stage presence. So I will like look at someone, and then I might look at this person over here, and then I might look at this person over here, and then I might walk around a little bit and just like own that space, right? Now, eye contact is very important, and it's really nice when you get to make eye contact with someone in the audience and you just give them a little bit of a smile because they're paying attention to you, right? So you want to like have that connection, like thanks for coming, thanks for paying attention to me, like I appreciate it. And then you move on to the next person. Like you never want to like just stare at someone and then just like talk to them the whole time because it probably is going to make them feel kind of uncomfortable. So just look at someone, give them a little bit of smile, then like go look at someone else and then just look around the room a little bit. So it looks like you're controlling the stage. And like you want the audience to know like I'm like super chill up here, man. I'm just like doing my thing, like engaging with different people, and that will make them feel like you're more in control of the situation. Um, so so eye contact is very important to form that rapport so that they're on your side and they can laugh at your jokes and they'll be more forgiving when your jokes aren't that funny, but you're a likable person, so they'll be entertained by you. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is crowd work. Now, crowd work is a term that we use when we talk about like talking to the crowd and like getting ideas off them and things like that. So usually the crowd work is done by the MC. Like the MC will come on, they'll warm up the crowd, they might call on a couple of people in the front row or the second row and be like, oh, like, what do you guys do for work, or how do you guys know each other, and that sort of stuff. And that's crowd work. Now, I think a lot of comedians, myself included, we have like this fantasy about crowd work where we just come on and we start talking to someone in the audience like totally unplanned, and they say something and then we just say something like super funny and the audience is just like, oh my god, this person is like amazingly funny, right? And it's totally unplanned and impromptu. And that rarely ever happens unless you're like a really good MC. But if you're like a comic that's starting out, and I think it's important that you know, if you want to practice your crowd work, do it. But I don't think that you should focus too much on trying to get that elusive, like funny gold nugget of like comedy, impromptu comedy, because it's not going to happen. And then what's going to happen is basically you just got to spend your stage time having conversation with someone in the front row, and everybody else in the audience is going to be like, when are the jokes going to start? Like, dude, just move on. Like, stop asking him questions. Get to the, you know, get to the planned material. So when you're doing your crowd work, keep it to like a couple of questions and then maybe just wrap it up and then start doing your jokes, because I've been in the audience when people just go on and they start having a conversation with someone like it's not going anywhere. The audience members like feeling weird, like, why are you still talking to me? I didn't want to have all this attention on me and now it's just weird, and everybody just wants them to move on. So okay, so I think there's a couple of um pitfalls with crowd work. The first one is like you can't guarantee what the audience is going to say, and like and that's why it's kind of hard. And I'm also kind of scared of doing crowd work because I can't control like the direction that this is going to go into, which is why I don't really do it that much. I just like, what's your name? Or like, thanks for coming, or how do you know this person? And then I move on, because otherwise there's just too many variables that you can't control. Then you got to bring it back to your set, and especially if you're doing open mic or you only have like a short period of time, then it's really important that you use that to the best of your ability to tell your jokes that you've planned. Um, and then the second thing is like when you're doing crowd work, you might be like, oh, like, what's your name? Oh, where do you work? Oh, what do you do there? Oh, like, how long have you been there for? Blah, blah, blah. Like, if you just keep asking them questions, it's like, what is this? A Spanish Inquisition? Like, stop asking me all these questions, man. Like, everyone in the audience is going to be like, okay, like, let's just keep this thing moving. Let's not ask too many questions here. Um, so just be mindful of that. Like if you don't have a purpose that you want to get to and you're just kind of trying to form rapport with the audience, then sure, ask a couple of questions and then wrap it up and then take it into your set. The other thing is like if you're talking to someone and you know it starts going down like a route that you don't want it to go down, or maybe you might have said something that has possibly offended them, which you didn't mean to, but it's happened and now everyone's like super awkward. Then to tie it back, you might just be like, oh well, like, um, oh well, like enough about you. Like, let's get back to the show. Or like, oh, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And now back to my bit about blah blah blah. Right. So you just kind of thank them, appreciate, like acknowledge the situation, and then bring it back to your own jokes, and that's how you kind of like can reclaim control over that situation. I think that's all I wanted to say about crowd work. I'm not like a huge fan. That's only because I'm probably not very good at it at the moment, and I try not to do too much of it if I'm doing like a short set. But I'm trying to do more MCing gigs so that I can practice my crowd work, like talking to people. There are some people who I see MC and they're just so nice, and they're like really good at MCing. And even if they say something that is like, God, I would not say that because I think the person would be very offended, they somehow manage to get away with it. I think it's a really good skill to have. You just need to know the appropriate times to practice your crowd work so that you can make the most of it. But yes, that was it from me. Thanks so much, and I will see you next time.